Local rivalries. Not so much, but talk about the economy and the opportunities in the South Coast. And I think just before I get into the slides, I think whilst there is inevitably a level of competition between cities, the locations, it's my absolutely firm belief that in this instance, a strong, vibrant, successful Portsmouth and other areas is really important to Southampton. And I think the conversations with colleagues, political and officer-wise in Portsmouth feel exactly the same way. And we spent quite a bit of time over the last few months really trying to promote the value and the importance of the Solent economy as a whole. So, nonetheless, hopefully I can still make my slides work better than Tom's did. So, Mike Harris, I'm Chief Executive at Southampton City Council. Great to be here. Thanks for the invite. Now, clearly, we have spent, as other cities have, quite a bit of time struggling in some strong economic headwinds, struggling with investments, but actually we've got a whole host of reasons to feel optimistic about the city. We are a substantial economy. I'm just going to try and get rid of that with £7.2 billion in Southampton economy owned. Julian's didn't talk about the PwC Good Growth Cities Index, but we're fifth. And we've been in the top 5 for the last sort of 10 years or so. We've got some amazing economic levers in the city, some fantastic universities with really substantial growth plans who we're talking to with some significant investment already available, ready to go. Clearly the port is a global economic lever and is the largest cruise ship port in Europe, and the cruise sector in particular is a really constantly growing and rapidly growing part of the tourism market. So we've got a range of reasons to feel positive. And on top of that, whilst this is a commercial property focus, our local plan target for residential, if it stays the same, we can keep housing policy to retain some level of consistency, will be another 26,000 properties by 2040. That's about a 20% increase in Southampton's household size. So we're a city that will be growing. So how do we make sure that translates into something that's coherent, positive, and has the backing of some key stakeholders in the city? So we've established a Renaissance board that has key anchor institutions. The port, the universities, football club, the hospital, which is the biggest employer in the city, the key transport providers, and the business improvement district. And we'll be developing a prospectus, so there's a shared public-private sector view about the most important things in the city. How are we going to deliver that, and start to develop some master planning processes, and I'll mention more of that in a little bit. But that also brings, in a sense, an ownership of that strategy, so that when we want to deliver the master plans, we've got stakeholders on board who can help with things like land assembly and the like. So that Renaissance board has identified 3 key things. The first is a sustainable city. I think Julian mentioned earlier on about just adapting to climate change, and it's so important that we adapt to our low carbon future. And we have sustainable growth at the heart, but we also have some great assets, and I've mentioned a few of them, to help us drive the economy and the business sector in that particular region, and our expertise in things like ocean science and innovation is really, really important. So maritime, marine and maritime city is the second priority. Needless to say, port is a global leader I've mentioned cruise already, but as a logistics centre, Portsmouth, Southampton absolutely critical. Portsmouth does okay, Tom, you're right. And you know, organisations like Ocean Infinity, who are world leaders in autonomous submersibles, are really helping us move that sector forward. And third and final theme is a destination city, where we really want to build on the legacy of our UK City of Culture. I'll call it silver medal, and just to make sure that we maximise the potential of the number of visits that we're receiving in the city, But we already know that that UK City of Culture legacy, if you like, has secured about £18 million investment for Southampton. And that's something we have established Southampton forward as a trust to take forward that legacy. It's a huge amount of potential in the visitor economy for the city. So as a group, the Renaissance Board have concluded this vision. You're all very capable of reading. I won't repeat it for you, but I think just to be clear that we want to be ambitious, pioneering, but that sustainability is really clear. And actually what's been really reassuring for me to hear as we've talked about our vision and our ambition with those stakeholders is that what we want is the right people to come and invest. And sometimes there's a feeling that what we've done over the last 20 or 30 years is welcome investment. But we want the right investment to come to take the city forward that's aligned with our vision. So talked a little bit about master planning. We're working hard now to pick up these particular areas in the city centre so that we'll come with defined plans that will set out what we want to see, and then we can bring those stakeholders to help with land assembly, with investment where they are willing to bring forward, and we anticipate having sort of master plans concluded in the early part of 2024. And kind of the outcomes that we really want to deliver as a result, I'll just set out here. I mean, we're doing some work around Central Station, but we really want that to develop to a much better arrival. It's one of the, I think, 20th busiest stations in the UK. You would not believe it, would you, if you came to Southampton Central, and then developing a central business district around that station. Our waterfront is incredibly industrial. It's one of the reasons why Southampton has been successful over many hundreds of years, but there's a great opportunity for more commercial and residential development there if we get it right. That's one of the really positive contributions that the port are making to hoping to change that perception and future planning of the waterfront. I think we've just got to recognise also that the city is living the legacy of some enthusiastic transport planners in the 70s and 80s who have built some fantastic road networks, but there's a lot of severance around the city, and we really want to connect so people and communities can come together and reach the full potential of the city as a whole. So I guess message to the property sector, if I could give one, is that we're coming together as a city. We'll be setting out some very clear plans and some invitations, if you like, through that master planning approach. If you want to come and talk to us around how you can be part of that delivery, we'd really welcome that. But it's going to have to be kind of what we want to see. We're going to become more assertive. It's probably a better way of phrasing it. But we do feel positive about the future of the city. And that is backed by a range of investment conversations that we're having, but we'd really welcome more because Southampton's got a long way to go to reach its full potential. Thank you.
Right. We have Tom's ready to go now. We'll check it works first, Tom, before we drag you back to your feet. Tom, take two.
Thank you. Thank you. Down. Excellent. No pressure then, as I've been up before. And Mike, thank you for those such kind words about Portsmouth. So possibly a slightly different take. I am going to go through, I think, some of the interventions that the council is kind of looking to bring forward or is currently bringing forward. I think we probably talk about them as projects or schemes. They are across the city generally, and they obviously are leading to opportunities for the private sector to come and invest, or they are looking to improve the environment within the city as it stands. I don't need to do the map, which obviously sadly does show Southampton on it, but Portsmouth being the centre there, you know, the great connectivity piece we all know and enjoy. All right, so Portsmouth is, as we all know, home to the Royal Navy. It is hugely proud of its maritime heritage, and it's clear that that maritime piece is a theme within industry that needs to be furthered as Portsmouth moves into the future. There are a huge amount of opportunities for further advancement in aerospace, defence, manufacturing, creative, digital industries, some of which have real homes and places already within the kind of maritime infrastructure of the city. This is probably an infographic that everyone has seen many times. I think it's something that my comms and marketing colleagues are very proud of. They keep updating it with stats. If we were to pick a couple of the important bits from this, I think for me, over 2,500 jobs created in the city last year. That's quite impressive. 11.4 million visitors annually to Portsmouth, and we'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. And overall, our ambition to be a carbon neutral city by 2030. We start by talking about the international port. Obviously, Mike has mentioned Southampton and the importance of the port there. Port is somewhat different in Portsmouth. There is a scale piece that is different, and the port here is owned and operated by Portsmouth City Council. And it is, and I would say this, the UK's best connected port in the country. And by that, I mean the ability to travel to different routes from that destination. There are a number of really excellent examples of innovation and investment that are going on at the port currently. You're probably all aware that in the last couple of weeks, we've had the opening of the new carbon neutral cruise terminal. So that's a cruise terminal not to compete on the scale that Southampton has cruise, but to put forward a proposition to the market that we are open and ready for business in that cruise market. We are already attracting significant visits as a destination, as a cruise piece, and we anticipate that terminal will have 250,000 passengers a year passing through it. That's addition to the port's already several million visitors that use the existing terminal. We think and we expect that increase in trade associated with cruise will increase income into the city to the extent of about £1.5 million through port charges, cruise spend, local goods and services, hotels, etc. Just picking up another piece on this, and it's somewhat slightly blurred by the lighting at the bottom, but there is a really important investment that's coming forward around shore power. You may have seen the headlines. The council's been awarded the best part of £20 million to develop the UK's first shore power facility. This essentially is an ability for a visiting boat to plug in to the port rather than to sit there with its big engines idling, polluting and causing the harm that does. So that is a real innovation piece that will further drive use of the port and investment. So linked to that, and I'm sure you're all aware, the Solent Freeport obviously took off within the last few years. Solent Freeport has a Portsmouth Gateway cluster that includes the port and Dunsbury Park. The port is a customs site, and so there, through the free port mechanism, is able to offer incentives for import and export, and Dunsbury Park benefits from the tax advantages that come with that free port status. The free port is a really important and binding piece of infrastructure that works right across that Southern corridor. And we really expect, not just in Portsmouth, but again across that wider piece, that through the years of operation of the Solent Freeport, we will see tens of thousands of jobs created. These slides are nicely linked. This is working. Right. So Dunsbury, I've mentioned that, you know, that obviously has a Freeport status as a tax site. It is a development site on the outskirts of Portsmouth, slightly out of its geographical boundary, but on the A3M. And it is a site that the council itself is bringing forward for development. In the last 2 weeks, we've seen completion of a recent phase of development there, 80,000 square feet across 3 new buildings. All the buildings, and I'm reading verbatim here because this is given to me by my development team, all the buildings are BREEAM Excellent with an EPC A rating. They are the best stock on the South Coast. There was an exclamation mark after that. I am told that BREEAM Excellent rating makes them within the top 10% of industrial buildings in the UK. Even more exciting to that, those 3 units have been built speculative. 2 of them are already within lawyers' hands, going through legals. And so we should see an announcement, hopefully fairly shortly. I would hope this time before Christmas at least. The importance of that will be the first lettings within the Solent Freeport zone. And that really is something that I think will drive the Freeport forward and will show how important that infrastructure in terms of tax incentives, etc., is in terms of place. Lakeside North Harbour. You're all familiar with Lakeside. It obviously has a very unique characteristic in Portsmouth. I think really we can probably all consider it as the Portsmouth office market. That is something that is a little bit odd to say, but I think the reality is probably thus. Council acquired this site a good number of years ago. It is going from strength to strength. I think we've seen a good number of deals concluded over the last year or so. I think we're seeing headline rents that are now in excess of £25 per square foot, which I think from a Portsmouth perspective is a sign of real positive movement within that marketplace. And the asset continues to perform well, generating surpluses for the council, which are put back into service delivery. The campus has created a strong reputation for its lifestyle offering, focusing on a range of benefits for occupants centred around well-being, making the most of its 130-acre site. Headlines have been made probably a year ago now about a very large solar PV scheme on the site. We really did as the council, we made quite a song and dance about that scheme coming forward. 10,000 PVs, 4.5 megawatts of electrical generation. I am really pleased to say that has actually now started on site, and we are actually going to be making a marked difference to how that facility operates and from that carbon that is saved annually. Also, the benefits of electricity being generated with the ability of those being fed back into the grid when there is grid demand at high usage times. Tipner West, and this, I'm sure most of you will know this as City Deal site. Tipner West is a long-held ambition by the council to develop vitally important marine employment space and the provision of homes. Again, it's one of those sites that I think we've talked about for a long time, and we are all itching to see come forward with physical build and interaction with the private sector. I am really pleased to say that the council will be making a decision at the end of this month to move forward with a master plan, which will come out for consultation early in the new year, which will lead through to a planning submission, hopefully in the summer of next year. So I think finally we can get behind there's some real traction here, and we're going to see some delivery, and there's going to be a next stage of engagement with the market as to how this comes forward. City centre. City centre for us, I'm sure if you've walked around it recently, is a challenged place like most cities. There are a number of things the council are promoting or seeking to achieve through the city centre. I'm sure all of you are well aware of the history of failed attempts to move forward large-scale regeneration on the former Tricorn site. So there are a real few positive messages I'd like to leave with this today. Last week, the council's planning committee resolved to give permission for the council's promoted city centre scheme, which is a scheme that consists of just under 2,500 residential units, 10,000 square metres of employment space, and almost 3 acres of open space. We are now moving into a stage where we are going to be engaging with the market to see how we can best deliver different phases of that. The permission that the council has resolved to grant is an outline consent. Essentially, it's hybrid. There is an element of a detailed consent for a first phase of approximately 520 homes. In addition to that, there are a number of schemes that are going on throughout that kind of city centre region. We've got high street funds secured from central government that are being spent on remodelling of Commercial Road. We will see spades in the ground in that in January. And we've also got work around furthering the ambition to see employment space within the city centre. So hopefully in the next few months we will see plans coming to reality about opening up a small enterprise centre. Just 2 images taken from the planning position. So to speak a little bit, I'm conscious that I'm taking quite a bit of time, but just to speak a little bit quickly about homes. This slide, that's CGI actually, but the real image looks very similar. A number of years ago, the council launched an arm's length development company, Ravelin Housing Limited. This is the first development by Ravelin Housing. It was completed just under a month ago. It will be hitting the market shortly. 17 units. Those units are predominantly private. There is a small key worker provision within it. It's a bit of a test case for Ravelin Housing, a bit of a test case for the council as investor. There is an appetite for that company to do much more in bringing forward housing within the city. The idea of that company is to deliver housing that is aligned to the economic needs of the city. As I say, it has an ambition to do a lot more. It's targeting the construction of 1,000 residential units within the next 10 years. The company is not there to compete with the private sector. It's there to complement, to enable, and in many ways to demonstrate what is possible. I've got a couple of slides now on not so much private sector opportunities for development and investment, but more around the environment and what the council is doing to make improvements into public realm or open space. So let's go back to the first slide. We're all probably familiar with Victoria Park. The council has a scheme underway for just under £3 million to remodel this important community space. This is part of that green infrastructure that sits within the city centre and is a vital point for meeting for communities and has been at its heart for 140 years. On the edge of the city, The council is making strides to improve, again, access to public space, access to leisure facilities. We are currently underway in the development of a football complex up on King George V sports provision. Those images there of the two sites are there on site currently, and we're hoping that the full development will be up and running early in next year. My final slide, and this is something that is probably still on the drawing board to a degree, but is a strong aim for the council to deliver a new leisure facility in the heart of the city down on the south aspect. This site has been in planning for some time. The council has moved ahead and has appointed a preferred contractor only a matter of months ago. Investment in this site really is seen as providing improvements to old, tired facilities that we have in the south of the city. This is all about building community strength and supporting happier and healthier lifestyles, tackling some of those issues that we see around health inequality, improving people's livelihoods. Okay, and the tech didn't break this time, so thank you.
I think perhaps I should apologise for Mike and Tom's inevitable cityism. Probably shouldn't let them sit next to each other either. Well, there we go. Will is up next, and he's going to tell us. Will is Director of Communications and Marketing at Eastleigh Borough Council. He's going to tell us a little about what's happening in Eastleigh.
Thank you. I can't claim to have the esteemed experience of the public sector of my colleagues on the panel here, so I'm going to take a slightly different angle on this and pull the newbie card, as it were. I've been with Eastleigh Council 6 months now. My colleagues are probably cringing. They tell me I can't call that newbie, but why do I tell you this? Well, I have a slightly different perspective, shall we say, on the role of councils in the private sector. I've spent my career sat figuratively where you're sat. I was a developer. I come from being head of strategy for a national house builder. I have a view of councils that perhaps has been skewed by that. It's very, very easy when you've come from that world to view the council as an adversary, as someone that you're in a fight with over planning, over Section 106, over whatever it is, bidding for sites, tenders, quite adversarial. And I don't believe that should be the case. I don't believe that is the case. I think you've heard already from councils in our region showing how you can have a different relationship, how councils can be an enabler. And Eastleigh, one of the reasons I've joined them is they're doing very innovative work. They see their role as unlocking development, unlocking economic development, unlocking housing development, but importantly, unlocking sustainable development. I'm going to pick an obvious example for that, but one that might make a few people in the room cringe who've had to deal with this. If this will go. Next slide. I've broken it as well. That's because this is news, that's not the presentation. I'll try to plug in, it's definitely a presentation idea. No. Don't worry about it. I'll carry on without the slides. You'll be delighted I'll save you death from PowerPoint. I'll give you a really obvious example of where councils in this region, particularly Eastleigh, are playing a kind of more innovative role in unlocking sustainable development. These might almost be swear words for people in the room. Nutrient neutrality. We all know kind of, you've heard it, where it came, it went away, it came, it went away. Broadly speaking, the important thing is, in 2019, with the European Court of Justice's decision on what we call the Dutch case, I'm definitely not going to try and pronounce the names of the parties. Suddenly, nutrient neutrality meant we couldn't build across the Solent. A moratorium, thousands of homes, thousands of commercial developments for overnight accommodation, tourism blocked, stopped. Councils could have done what other areas did and just looked to government to fix it and said, not our problem, your problem, tell us how to fix it. But councils across the Solent did not, and Eastleigh did not. They worked to find a solution. So Eastleigh set up an innovative nutrient offset scheme. We are operating that now. We have enabled thousands of homes to be built, not just in Eastleigh, but around the Solent by giving a managed offset scheme in conjunction with the council sat here. Our credits are available to developers who want to build in the Itchen, Test Valleys, all the way basically from the western side of Southampton Water, the New Forest bits that discharge there, right across to beyond Portsmouth here. We didn't ignore that. We said, right, this is our role to unlock that development. Now, I'm going to be a bit selfish and talk about Eastleigh now and why we're doing more like that to demonstrate what we can do. Some of you will have seen my colleagues exhibiting about our developments in Horton Heath. 2,500 homes, not to make a rivalry with Portsmouth, but this is a council housing company that is going to deliver 3,000 homes over the next 10 years. And this is actually happening now. So we are on site. We have drilled 233 boreholes ready for the ground source heat pumps. Foundations going in on the first 381 homes from January. Tenders about to come out for those who are looking for the opportunities here in January for the superstructure on that first phase. Multiple subsequent phases. Why have we done this? Why are we coming in and competing with the private sector? But to steal Tom's point, we're not. This is a site that was blocked. 2 extant permissions, 450 and 950 homes, sat in the private sector for 5 years, could not be unlocked because it required huge infrastructure investment. It required £140 million worth of infrastructure investment. Only a council could come along and unlock that. We've upfront invested in that infrastructure. We've enabled that scheme to move forward. What we are doing is not intended to compete with the private sector, but to demonstrate what is possible and what is possible about sustainability. This is a scheme that already, despite building regs not requiring it, has no fossil fuels, will be ground source heat pumps, district heat network, proving that as a viable technology, building the capacity and the understanding the market to make it actually happen. 20% biodiversity net gain. We are going way beyond the obligations there and proving that we can improve that environment from pretty low-grade agricultural land into meaningfully beneficial environment. Only 80% of the site actually being developed, creating the green spaces, the amenity space, the quality of living that people really, really want. So we're not just delivering 2,500 homes, we're delivering 2,500 sustainable homes and proving to the market that this can be done. This is a model that we desperately want people to copy. We will be delighted to show other people, come down to Horton Heath, see what we're doing. We've set up viewing platforms for you to see. We're happy to share our experience and knowledge of how we can deliver this kind of development. And I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the commercial property portfolio. We are a council, like so many, that has invested in commercial property, but with a very, very clear mission about how it benefits our borough, our employees, our kind of the local economy. Back way before my time, and 10 plus years ago, there was a question of spending £30 million to bail out the Rose Bowl. It was controversial. People thought that was bonkers. I don't think anyone would sit here now and say that the GS Bowl wasn't a massive success. That commercial property portfolio generates millions of pounds of income and keeps our council tax down. We've frozen our council tax in real terms for the last decade. Not many people can say that, thanks to that innovative approach. And my kind of appeal to you to finish is, please see us as a partner who wants to enable things. We have commercial property, we want to work with you, everything from warehouses up in the Freeport area of the airport through to offices. If you really want to jump in the deep end and come and join us in offices with Natural England, you're very welcome to. We've got a floor to let there, all the way through to cafes, small commercial units. We see our role as an enabler, we see our role as a partner. So whether it's nurturing credits to help you develop in Eastleigh or in Southampton or in Portsmouth or Fareham or anywhere else, or working with us on the Horton Heath projects, looking to get involved with the commercial space we'll be delivering there, the retail will be delivering there, the extra care housing will be delivering there, or simply just as a tenant, we are here to support, we are here to enable. Thank you.
We've talked a lot today about the Solent corridor, but there is quite a big entity to the north of us, and unfortunately we've got Councillor Harvey to tell us a little about what's happening in Basingstoke.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the introduction, because that was where I was going to start. We are the third largest economy in Hampshire, and not a lot of people know that or remember it. We aren't just talking about the South Coast, we're talking about the whole of Hampshire and how Hampshire as a whole, as a region, can play its part in the wider UK economy. And Basingstoke and Deane is under new political management. And that's why I'm sat in front of you, stood in front of you today, because I am the new leader at Basingstoke and Deane with a new political team running an authority which is getting its drive back and getting its ambition back. And I want to work with you, and I want your collaboration to make my borough sing. It's already come to our local economy, jobs, and economic growth. Are we going to move, he said. Which one are we working on to move? Just the arrows and the... Which one? No. There we go. So we have a new council plan, we have a new set of priorities, we have a new drive in the authority. We are talking about putting pride back into our local communities. We are talking about building a borough that connects with both climate and ecological emergency and challenges our developers, our businesses, and our residents to tackle the issues that are in front of us. And we are serious about, as an authority, about providing high quality services. We are in a very lucky position. I do not mean to upset any colleagues on the bench, but Basingstoke and Deane is an authority that has no need to make any cuts. Because of our very strong property portfolio, because of the way that the council has been managed over the past 30 to 40 years, we are in a unique position in our local government family. We just put a plea in for the rest of the local government family, because they are in crisis, a lot of them are, and they need your help to drive the economic growth that will help them sustain the services that they need to deliver to their residents. But in Basingstoke and Deane, we are in a very lucky and important position, which enables us to concentrate on regeneration and renewal. So we are a new council with new priorities, focused on our town centre, focused on our business districts such as Basingview, and we have a serious amount of opportunities that we want to talk to you about. We have worked very closely in terms of Basingview across a series of partnerships with the County Council, the LEP that is now disappearing, the M3 corridor, which has been very successful, is disappearing into the County Council. But we are talking about how we can maintain the programmes and the work that's gone on there to carry on very successfully delivering for our communities. We're talking about our relationships with Network Rail and the fact that Basingstoke is perfectly positioned. An hour from London, routes to Birmingham, to Bristol. We are the location in the north of Hampshire for that business community that needs that national connection across the region. We're talking about the opportunities that we're developing on Basingview with grade A employment space. We're talking about our opportunities to work with you on innovation. We want to bring in and develop our 5G Living Lab. We want to see incubation support for businesses, both small to grow, innovation to grow, life sciences, med tech. We are serious about having that level of investment that can drive business growth in our area in the north of the county. 65 acres worth of mixed business use. We own the freehold. We are serious about doing long leases, about working with the community, the business community, to drive that rental income, because that's what's going to sustain our council services going forward and provide the jobs and the economic growth that we want for our area. We are working very closely with our social housing partners in sovereign housing. We've got the MOD, AA have just committed to stay to Basingstoke and stay in Basingstoke in a building that is being transformed on Basingview. Innovative office culture, the change in office culture that we're all going through, from home working to the change of how we want to have an office operate. We're seeing that office provision, that office offer change in Basingstoke as a result of the work we're undertaking with partners, and the AA will be the beneficiaries of that moving into a new building. Lily staying again because of the way we've worked with them, the way we've wanted to work with them as a partner to keep them in town and to make our offer fit to what they need to work with them. And also taking the opportunities that are presented to develop other opportunities on Basingview, such as the Village Hotel, and potentially in the future residential, and potentially in the future higher education. We have such amazing opportunities coming our way. There's over £1 billion of investment coming to Basingstoke and Deane in the north of the county, with a new hospital coming to our area. That new hospital will grow life sciences, it will grow bed tech, it will be significant. The government have finally committed to it after all the years of talk about it. They finally committed to it, and the money is in the Treasury. So as far as we're concerned, it is going to happen. The interesting thing for us will be with the new government, have they got the bottle to take the money away from us? It's there at the moment, and we are making significant plans to move it on and move it forward. We are in talks about a university based in Basingstoke and Deane, a serious university coming to town to offer us transformational opportunities in the town centre, and that will be genuinely transformational, I think, in terms of the local economic profile. We have huge, large infrastructure projects currently going on, not least of them the Manydown Garden community. And after all the years of talk, in the first 5 months of our administration, we are about to do the deal. So as of tomorrow, Manydown is happening. Absolutely happening. 3,250 homes on Manydown North are coming forward. And we are seriously talking about how we can bring Manydown South forward and what that means for local regeneration and affordable housing. We're talking to our partners, and I want to talk to you about what you might be able to do for us in making this happen in our community. We want to also talk about other opportunities for intervention. We are in the position of talking about a regeneration opportunity in our borough, where we are probably talking about a 30-year project now with our social housing partners across 2 or 3 of the main areas of Basingstoke in Buckskin and Southampton, with the potential of over £1 billion of regeneration investment. That's going to be utterly transformative to communities that haven't seen that level of investment since they were built in the 50s and 60s. We've managed to secure that in the last 5 months of being in power in Basingstoke and Deane, working with our partners, with a total refocus on regeneration. We are really serious about putting our money where our mouth is with our land. And as a borough, we're a very land-rich borough. We own an awful lot of land in Basingstoke and Deane, and we are serious about making it work for both economic need, social need in terms of affordable housing. How can we make it deliver for our residents? So I'm keen to hear the views and explore those ideas with you. Just a few of examples of the speculative office buildings and the office buildings that have been built on Basingview to give you an idea of what we're talking about. But moving on, we're developing the Basingstoke story. We're the 8th most levelled up place in the entire UK. We are massively investing in our cyber sector. We are genuinely competing with the likes of Oxford and Cambridge, and it's fascinating to watch that. Cambridge is saturated at the moment. There are a tremendous amount of businesses that are thinking twice now and looking, because it is as saturated as it is as a market, and same with Oxford. And we happen to look at that Oxford-Cambridge arc, and a lot of that community is now looking this way. And it's interesting because we're all going to benefit from that. If we can get on that train, we can genuinely benefit from that change in direction that we're seeing. Massive amounts of funds raised recently in terms of manufacturing and engineering sectors, and the number of companies that we have operating in the pharma and medtech industries. All areas we want to see grow and expand. And we are the 4th best UK location for investments as far as others' interpretation, others' views of us are. Just an idea of some of the major businesses that we have in the area, and we've retained and looking to grow with. It's very important to us. So some of the external observations about our borough are that we're challenging those outdated perceptions of Basingstoke. No more Basinggrad, no more Basingstoke based on roundabouts. You can consign that to the past. I'm not interested in that. As far as I'm concerned, Basingstoke and Deane is the best place to do business, and it's the best place to come and live. because we have some glorious countryside. We have the best of North Hampshire in our borough. Basingstoke is not the only bit of Basingstoke and Deane. Don't forget the Deane bit. So from Whitchurch and the Silk Mill to Bombay Sapphire in Overton, all the way through our economy and our villages and towns, as much as Basingstoke, we have something very special to offer, something very, very special and unique. We want to work in partnership, in collaboration. I'm sick of the word consultation. Let's work in collaboration. Let's work with you to unlock the potential we have. That's the conversations that we want to have about the future of our borough. And actually, the focus for all of us is about achieving that quality of life. That's what I'm interested in. We're interested as an administration about lifting our entire borough up, so there is nobody left behind. We have some amazing, successful businesses that right here, right now, have some amazing relationships with our schools and our colleges and our communities. And from their ESG, from their focus on what they want to deliver as part of their ESG, they are doing great things. That's the sort of relationship and partnership that we want to see grow in our borough to achieve both social good as much as economic growth. An amazing satisfaction rating. 93% of our residents say we are a great place to live. And I do like the last one, but the least stressed place to live. So our focus is on investing in happiness and pride in our place. I'm very happy to answer any questions from the panel, but thank you for giving us the opportunity to present to you, because all of us are absolutely passionate about the places where we live. And I know there's 4 of us in front of you this afternoon, but there's also all the other local authorities, I think, in Hampshire as a region. And the one thing I do see, having joined some of these leaders' calls as a council leader in the past 5 months, is just how really enthusiastic the whole of our region is to want to grow and want to develop and want to be the very best we can be. And we can't do it without you. I'm the only politician in the room, I guess. So I'm here selling the job. I'm saying, help us be what you all want to be. As a council, we are open for business.
Thank you, Paul. We've got time for a few questions now, or the MOD going to throw us out? Any questions from these?
Someone's going to have
Yes, like far end.
Hands up. Yeah.
You're going to come to me first. There's a echo going on there. So how will you address social value in each one of the cities? The first person looked up.
It's always a problem with the chief executive. No one else to. Well, it's at the heart. I mean, I think I've talked about inclusive growth, and it's about who we want to work with. But I think we've got to get to the point where we're actually a bit choosy who comes and develops and works in our neighbourhoods. I think that's a little bit about Councillor Harvey was saying, come and align yourselves with our vision. We've got procurement policies, we've got selection policies, they're important, but actually come and work with us, align yourself to our vision. If you're not aligned, fine, you can possibly align yourself to somewhere else, but we're really clear about what we want to Southampton, and I think that's a bold position, it's a bold statement to make, but actually the view from my leader and the cabinet that I serve, if you like, is very clear. Let's get ourselves aligned with partners.
I think it's interesting how relationships can become conflictual if you don't work with your local authority. And I'm not saying that's easy, because it's not easy to work with councillors. We can be an awkward bunch, particularly on planning committees. And I think there's a relationship where if you get in early enough, if you have the conversations with us at the start of what you're thinking about, not when you want to submit a planning application, not when you want to deliver what you want, but actually have that early vision conversation with us, we are far more open and able to help you achieve what you want to achieve, because we can then work with you to align it with our priorities. And I think one of the most fascinating things I've found since, I mean, I was lucky enough to be the last leader at Basingstoke that wasn't a Conservative 17 years ago. And we did some amazing regeneration projects 20 odd years ago where that social value question was being answered. We haven't had any regeneration projects in Basingstoke in the intervening 17 years, not on the scale we were talking about. So to get the partners around the table again, to get the band back together again, so to speak, there were the old local strategic partnerships, those old place boards. We used to sit around the table as public, private, third sector, and actually talk about the strategic vision of the place, and talk about where your part of that was and how pooling your resources could achieve a greater sum. That's the kind of conversation we want to have as authorities. Because we can be that glue, we can be that broker that achieves on our land or your land or their land what delivers the best for the residents. So regeneration, instead of talking about a scheme of 10 or 20, which will come of what we've talked about, we're talking about a 30-year programme of regeneration to soothe the communities that haven't seen it in all the years since the London Notice Bill. That's the kind of social value drive. And the economic element that falls out of that is that it's not just about building houses, it's the economic benefit that that will drive, because we're talking about lifting communities up with spending power in our economy that will spend it locally, it will stay locally, it will drive locally, and it will bring with it jobs, and it will bring with it the economy, because those businesses that want to come, because we're regenerating, to have new places to live and work and enjoy, will be a part of that journey with us, and that's the kind of partnership I'm looking for in Basingstoke, and I'm sure all of my colleagues here on the panel are looking for.
Thank you. So from Portsmouth's perspective, I just add on to what Mike and Paul said, that it is very much about locking that pound into that community and ensuring you've got maximum benefit from that, and you've got the cohesion, the economic piece, etc., that backs that up. So, I mean, Mike touched on it there, and it's a bit of a boring point, so I want to talk about procurement, but it's making sure you've got that golden thread through all of those policies and your approach in general, which we feel we have.
And the only thing I'll add is to reflect on where I started my talk, where I said the difference between public and private sector. No disrespect to anyone in this room. The most refreshing thing about my job now is when I sit down with my chief executive or my council leader, the primary measure of success we're talking about is social value. Like, it's not an afterthought, it's not a nice to have as part of it. Look, I'm going to pick on housing because I know it. Look at it like what we mean. Generating the right homes that deliver the right benefit. Sustainability is the economic sustainability of it as well. Creating that jobs, creating that training, creating the long-term impact of that scheme is the primary objective, not short-term development profit. We can amortize costs over a long time. We can deal with things taking longer if the short-term benefit is more in the value about employability and skills. I talked about sustainability. Going down the route of ground source heat pumps financially probably doesn't make sense in the short term. But the value to the economy of learning the skills around that, learning the knowledge about how we roll that out to scale, they are the primary measure of success. And it's an unbelievably refreshing position to be in, that is what you're looking for.
Somebody up on the right side.
Probably have time for one more question.
Question for Mike. Your new master plan, what are your top 3 priorities you want out of it?
Let's go back and remember what I said. I mean, top 3, I think we're not top 3, the sort of city centre master plans. I think I'll set up on the slide deck. There was several businesses around the central station, getting the waterfront to work for us, work for the city, work for the region. I'm trying to think what the third one was a destination, and there was something around the venue that can take their destination forward.
Are there any priorities around employment, new homes, other kind of broader issues that will go across the master plan?
Well, I mean, I think I said 26,000 homes is our current local plan target across the whole city. That's the target by 2040. Really significant. We've got to develop that across the whole of the city. That can't be focused in the city centre where really large housing development has been in the past. So district centre development can be really important. Bitten and Lawsville, I think in particular, are great opportunities, but the rest of the city will need to contribute. And employment opportunities goes back to one of the key themes for the Renaissance Hospital around sustainability and future jobs. We know in particular the wage rates for residents as opposed to people who are coming in the city to work. There's a big disparity, and we really need to close that gap and working on those marine and maritime things and the future jobs, particularly around sustainability and low carbon future, we think are big opportunities to help close that wage gap and develop. To use the political mantra, well-paying, support well-paying and sustainable future-proof or future-resilient jobs.
Thank you, Mike. We just thank our panellists for sharing.
Wow, that is the last panel of the day, and that's a wrap. I want to say a massive thank you to all of our speakers, our sponsors, because this event couldn't have happened without you. Obviously, this is the fourth event. I would say it's pretty successful, but we want to hear from you because we try to make this event affordable for all, because I believe that it's important to actually raise the global presence. The more people that talk about our region, the more likely we get investors to invest into our region. So speak to people today, connect with everybody, because there are some massive projects that we can all get involved. Obviously, in terms of the main highlights, sustainability, ESG, social value is key. So start implementing that within your business. I know from doing some tenders, Southampton City Council did a procurement event, and social value is 20% of the tender process. So if we can all start implementing that, then ultimately it's that roll-on effect. But before you go, fourth RSK Geoscience, there are networking drinks down by the climbing wall. Maybe don't have an alcoholic beverage before going up the wall. But thank you so much. Do give us your feedback, and hopefully we see you next year. Thank you.